Welcome back to another episode of the Tech Talks Daily podcast, and today I'm thrilled to have Paul Saccone, Senior Director of Adobe Video Marketing, and he's going to be joining us to discuss Adobe's latest announcements and the future of video content creation. So today, Paul's going to be joining me and sharing his insights on how AI is democratizing video creation and indeed the entire creative process, and the exciting advancements in technology that will impact content creation in the years to come, such as Gen AI for video and virtual production. And we'll also discuss, the recent Adobe Summit in Las Vegas, where generative AI was a hot topic, and also delve into the feedback and big takeaways from the conference. And Paul will give us an inside look at Adobe's newest innovations in video tools, including AI-powered text-based editing, automatic tone mapping in Adobe Premiere Pro, as well as the latest features in After Effects. Furthermore, we'll explore Adobe's expansion of the Frame.io collaboration platform beyond video and learn about a recent announcement around that, and also discuss how Adobe's family of video applications has powered editing and visual effects for a record number of box office movie hits this year, demonstrating the far-reaching impact of technology in areas that we may have previously not considered. And in this rapidly evolving content creation landscape, Paul will finally share his insights on Adobe's role in shaping that future, the emergence of new tools such as ChatGPT and Descript, and the healthy competition that drives innovation. So buckle up and hold on tight as I beam your ears all the way to the US, where Paul Saccone is going to be joining us and exploring the exciting developments at Adobe and how they're set to revolutionize the creative process. So a massive warm welcome to the show, Paul. Can you tell the listeners a little about who you are and what you do?
Sure. My name is Paul Saccone, and I am Senior Director of Pro Video Marketing here at Adobe. I came from Adobe via Frame.io. I was part of the acquisition about a year and a half ago, where I was running marketing for Frame.io. Prior to that, I've spent most of my career working in the professional video space on editing apps such as Final Cut Pro for about 15 years at Apple, and at DaVinci Resolve for 8 or 9 years at Blackmagic. And now I'm really fortunate and very excited to be here at Adobe working on Premiere, After Effects, Audition, Media Encoder, and all of our video products.
Well, it's an absolute pleasure to have you on the podcast today, Paul. And we're talking a few weeks after the Adobe Summit in Vegas, where predictably Gen AI stole the show at the Digital Experience Conference. But I'm curious, a few weeks have passed now. What kind of feedback have you received post-conference around the announcement of things like Firefly? And what were the big takeaways for you from the summit?
Yeah, that's a really great question. Just a few months ago, generative AI was really just an idea. It seems like it came out of nowhere very quickly. So it's taken the industry by storm, and we were, of course, working on our products and our models, our AI models, for quite some time. It's been amazingly successful. We introduced Adobe Firefly several weeks ago, and I think it's probably one of the most, if not the most popular beta programs we've ever initiated. Literally hundreds of thousands of people kicking the tires, checking it out, seeing what it's all about. So there's tremendous interest in what Firefly and generative AI in general can bring to the world. For us, it's building on decades of innovation we've already had with Sensei, which is Adobe's AI tool set that we, you see Sensei features in Premiere and After Effects, Photoshop, and all the other applications. And those are really what I would call assistive AI. So they help you do things, they help you do tasks. They don't actually generate content. So Firefly actually generates content from nothing. Maybe it's a text prompt or something like that. And I think one of the things that makes generative AI so exciting for so many people is that it allows them to extend their creativity. Maybe I'm not a motion designer, but I have an idea about something that I'd like to create. Maybe I want to take text that looks like liquid metal floating across the screen. Well, I can just type that in and get some output. And that's just crazy that, I could have a vision and express myself, so I can work in one medium, but I can also work in a medium that might not be my particular area of expertise with some measure of reasonable results. So I can start with an idea and an illustration, and then ask it to animate it or change it or to do something unique with it that I might not have been able to do on my own. And I think that's really exciting to allow people to literally play with and explore the technology.
And of course, away from the summit, Adobe did save several other big announcements as well, such as bringing new innovations to video tools on Adobe Premiere Pro with new features such as AI-powered text-based editing, which makes editing video as easy as copying and pasting text and automatic tone mapping to achieve consistent colors and contrast, especially when mixing footage from different cameras, etc. But can you expand on some of the announcements around that? Because anyone that works in that world, it's incredibly time-saving, isn't it?
Yeah. The big one for us this year is text-based editing. It is powered by Adobe Sensei, so it is an AI-based technology, and we're calling it an entirely new way to edit because it is. It is the fastest way to create a rough cut because you can do so by simply copying and pasting text. So what happens is when you bring your footage in, when you ingest footage into Premiere Pro, it automatically transcribes that footage. And there's a new text panel in Premiere Pro that shows you the transcription. It separates lines out by speakers. You can name the speakers. Then you can search and sort through the transcription just by typing in a phrase. Maybe you remember that I had a great quote or a pithy line that you wanted to include in the video. And you could just literally find that. You can start selecting sentences and then using the keyboard shortcuts you already know for like a word processing piece of software, or even for Premiere Pro to just use the comma key to do an insert edit. You just select the text, you start using those keystrokes, and your timeline just starts building with the clips from the text you've selected. And then once you've got your timeline built, you can switch from what we call the source transcript, which is the transcript from the source footage, to the timeline transcript, which is everything that's in your timeline or your sequence. And then maybe you want to do some further edits. You want to reduce, pauses or filler words. So we give you little indications of when there's, a pause or something, and you can just delete those. And actually watch it. It's really fun. You watch it cut out the video as you're editing the text. If you copy and paste lines because you want to change the order, the clips swap in the timeline. So it literally is an entirely new way to edit. And we think that it's going to help editors, of course, get to their rough cut faster so they can spend more time doing their creative edit. But it also lets a lot of people who for years have been kind of adjacent to the process, like producers and even some assistant editors, they would send footage out for transcripts, right? They'd be transcribed and they'd have pieces of paper where they'd get their highlighters and they'd be highlighting lines and circling things and handing that to the editor. And that was called a paper cut. And the editor would then build their rough cut based on the paper cut. And now all of that can happen right in Premiere Pro. So that's really exciting. And we think that's a game-changing workflow people are going to love. The second sort of big feature that we've done is we've added, it's a series of two features. It's actually automatic log detection and log color space detection. So if I drop in footage from an iPhone into Premiere Pro, the iPhone is the world's most popular 4K HDR camera, right? There are literally billions of these things in people's pockets. And it shoots, in order to preserve all of that great image quality and detail, it shoots in a format called hybrid log gamma, which if you've ever worked with HLG footage, you put that into the timeline and it looks sort of milky and pale and a little washed out. And that's because it's of the math it's doing to preserve all that detail. So you have to do something to it to make it look good. And now Premiere automatically does that. So you don't have to apply a lot. You don't have to do a manual color correction. You instantly get footage that looks great from the start. And that new feature is going to be on by default for editors because we just think editors dropping footage like that into a timeline are going to want that to look great. We have a similar feature which automatically recognizes Sony, Canon, and Panasonic log footage. That is off by default. And the reason for that is because Pro customers have been using that footage in Premiere Pro for years, and they're used to the workflow where they apply a lot or they do a color correction to get that to look good before they start editing. So we didn't want to change that and then sort of have it double changed by the work they did and the work that we did on top of it. So that's an optional one that people can turn on. And we think everyone's going to turn it on once they figure out that it's there and it can save them all that time. So those are two really huge and time-saving features that we've added to Premiere Pro. But I have to say, there's always these big, what we call marquee, or these big flashy features. But we have spent a ton of time, and actually it was our priority this year, to really take a listen to our editors, our core audience, to find out what the people that are sitting in the chair 8 to 10 to 12 hours every day really, really need us to do. So big flashy features are great, but the smaller things that editors love, like background autosave, giving people a way to very quickly reset their system and optimize their preferences, adding more GPU acceleration so it's super fast. There's just a lot of small things in there that we did that are going to make editors really, really happy. We re-engage with the pro community. We are really invested in listening to what our customers want. And I'm really proud to say that this is the fastest and most reliable version of Premiere Pro that we've ever shipped. So some great new features, but we've also been listening and want our customers to know that we hear you and we are doing the things that you're asking us to do to make Premiere a better experience for your day-to-day and now workflows.
And everything you mentioned there, like the text-based editing, etc., is that available now or coming in a future version?
So we're in public beta now. So that's a great question. Thank you for asking. Go ahead and download it. You can get it from from our website and from a Creative Cloud desktop application. You can run it alongside your existing version of Premiere Pro, so there won't be any conflicts there. But it is going to be shipping in a couple of weeks. We are shipping text-based editing in May.
Fantastic. And before you came on the podcast, I've been trying to keep up to speed. There's been that many announcements. And of course, a lot of the announcements are not just about Premiere Pro. I was also reading new features coming to After Effects too. Can you tell me a little bit more about that?
Yeah, it's an exciting year for After Effects. After Effects is celebrating 30 years. So 30 years as the world's most popular motion design application. And somebody told me this at ADB, and so I have to go fact check, but I think the first film After Effects was used on was Jurassic Park.
Wow.
So it's been some pretty amazing times with After Effects. And what we are doing right now with After Effects, we did a ton of performance improvements in multi-frame rendering and M1 Silicon support, Apple Silicon support last year that have just really made After Effects so much more responsive. And this year, we actually made a pretty large user interface change, which is not something we do very often because we don't want to upset our existing customers. But this is one that they really love, and that's called the Properties panel. So typically, if you wanted to animate a given parameter on anything in After Effects, you have to go through the timeline, find the layer, twiddle it open, find the control that you wanted to animate, and use the buttons and the keyframes and everything right there in the timeline. Now it's a context-sensitive panel, so it's on the right side of the screen in the default layout. You click an item on your viewer, and whatever relevant properties can be animated pop up in the Properties panel without you having to go through the timeline to find stuff. So it's just a lot faster for people that are used to using After Effects to work, and it's also making it a lot more approachable for new users that want to learn motion design but maybe aren't familiar with that timeline model. The Properties panel is similar to the way you might work in Photoshop and Illustrator. So we're really just trying to make it easier to bring more and more people into the After Effects family. We hear that, we hear from still designers all the time that they want to learn how to do motion. They're being asked to add motion to their projects. So this is part of that effort. The other thing that we did with After Effects is the addition of ACES color support, which is an ultra wide gamut color space, and Open Color IO, which is a industry standard color management system. So it just makes it really easy to share assets and get consistent colors with other apps and people working in like a VFX pipeline. So lots of great stuff coming to After Effects, or in After Effects, I should say, with these new releases as well.
And you mentioned Jurassic Park there, and I always try and get people to think differently about areas impacted by technology, especially areas they might not associate with technology or even Adobe. So can I ask that you expand on that and share how Adobe's family of video applications have actually powered editing and visual effects for a record number of box office hits recently? Because, again, I think a lot of people might be unaware of this and just how far-reaching it is. Are there any big names you can shout about?
Oh, I'm always happy to drop my favorites. It has been an amazing year for us here at Adobe. So first and foremost, I'm going to talk about Everything Everywhere All at Once. Everybody knows it won the Academy Award for Best Picture. It also won for Best Film Editing, and it was edited in Premiere Pro by the amazing, talented Paul Rogers. So there was also Navalny, which won an Academy Award. The Bear, which is on X, is a Golden Globe winning show. That is edited with Premiere Pro. We probably had 6 or 7 commercials in the Super Bowl this year edited with Premiere Pro. Sundance Film Festival almost 2/3 of all of the Sundance Film Festival entrants were edited in Premiere Pro, and 3/4 of the films used some combination of Premiere, Frame, After Effects, and other Creative Cloud applications. And it is really, really amazing to see so many, of these high-end films, even independent films and commercials, being used using our products. It's just a really humbling and very rewarding experience. And I think it's just a testament to the fact that if you want to edit, Premiere Pro is really the world's most popular professional editing software. And After Effects, of course, is the king for motion graphics and motion design.
And I was also reading that Adobe's expanding the Frame.io collaboration platform beyond video. And I know this is a topic very close to your heart. So can you expand on that too?
Yeah, this is exciting. So Frame.io has been sort of the industry's darling for video review and approval tools for, I think they're going on 8 years or so now. Really ignited and created the entire category for online remote review and approval. And then added Camera to Cloud, which gets footage from the set to editors as it's being shot so they can start working. And this year, we announced that Frame.io is expanding beyond the world of video, and all those great tools, whether it's Camera to Cloud or the review and approval tools that video editors have enjoyed, are now available for still photographers and for people working on PDF document-based workflows. So we introduced support for native camera clouds, or with Fujifilm still cameras, you could shoot directly from the camera to the cloud, which is great. We've also introduced tethered camera support through Capture One. So some great new integrations there. And then there are a bunch of tools and workflows in Frame.io that support these new document formats. So new ways to review and comment and leave notes on still images and PDFs that really make it easy for people that need to do that kind of work. Image comparison tools to compare multiple versions of images and the like. So big market expansion for Frame.io, going from video out to still and productivity-based document workflows.
There's been so many big announcements from Adobe in the last few weeks and so many big changes occurring. And I think if we were to go back in time just 6 months, I think most people listening had not heard of things like generative AI, and there's so many new tools appearing all the time, such as ChatGPT, Descript, etc. I'm curious, do you see this as healthy competition? Does it inspire you to keep innovating, keep pushing forward, knowing that there are so many solutions emerging all the time?
Yeah, we are absolutely passionate about it and committed to it. We see all of these things, and the first thing we think of when we see a ChatGPT or a new technology X or Y is we think of, how can this help us help our customers tell better stories? Because at the end of the day, our core customer are these creatives, right? And they're passionate about telling their stories. The desire for video content has doubled in the last couple of years, and estimates put it at quintupling in the next few years again. So we're really getting to the point where it's about creating content at scale. So anything like Firefly, Sensei, anything that allows us to work faster, to automate the mundane or simplify complex tasks, is going to be a welcome addition, because really, the volume of content we have to create has gone up, which takes away from the time to actually focus on the creative art of it. If I have to spend my time exporting 16 different versions and 4 different aspect ratios, well, that's not a lot of fun, but editing it. So to the extent that we can leverage all of these great new technologies to make an artist's life easier is really what we get excited about. So I wouldn't necessarily say that we see a lot of the stuff as competing technology or competition, so much as tools we can use to enable the next generation of workflows for our customers.
And I think that's a beautiful moment to end on. But before I do let you go, I know how busy you are at the moment. So thank you for investing a bit of your time and sharing your insights. But with everyone listening, some of the biggest names in VC funding and tech have either been guests on this podcast or have listened. So if I was to ask you, is that a person you'd love to have a private breakfast or lunch with, and why? Who would you choose? Because he or she might just be listening, and I'd love to see if we can manifest something together. But who would that person be and why?
So Tim Cook, if you're listening, it's going to be you. And the reason is I was at Apple for about 16 years. And I'm not sure that Tim would ever remember this, but we shared a flight to China. I was working on Final Cut Pro at the time. We're going to a conference in China to speak to our local representatives there. We struck up a great conversation on the plane. It was really interesting. And then literally a day later, we flew back. It was an in and out trip. And it's really amazing to see that Tim has been following in Steve's footsteps, which are certainly not easy for anyone. And he's done an amazing job building the business and the company. And I would just love the opportunity to sit down with him again and say, hey, remember me? Lots changed in the last 20 years. And I'd just love to chat with him about all the great things that have happened and how he was able to accomplish that.
Oh, I love that. What a great story. And as someone that travels to conferences a lot, I don't think anybody forgets those conversations you have at 35,000 feet. You just don't forget them. So I'm sure Tim Cook does remember that conversation. So we'll throw it out into the ether. Let's see what we can manifest together. And for anybody wanting to find out more information about any of the announcements we've talked about today, the Adobe website is a huge site, of course. So what's the best way of keeping up to speed with anything that you're releasing, working on, or announcing, or even contacting your team? What's the best starting point?
Yeah, so we have, Adobe.com obviously is our website. The Premiere product pages, After Effects product pages are all there, easily navigable. But you'll see some big tiles for things like Firefly and stuff right up front, so it's easy to get more information about that. And we did recently publish a vision and video and a statement about what Firefly might look like in video applications. So I really suggest everybody go and check that out, because there's some really cool ideas about things that we'd like to do with Firefly and video in the future. And then, of course, if you're already a customer, or even if you're not, you can go and download our public beta and just try this stuff. It's so much fun to do the text-based editing. Once you start working with it, it's one of those things where you think, how did I work without this? How did people edit video before this? Think of all of the unscripted, the interviews like what we're doing today, the documentarians, anybody doing this kind of unscripted work now has a way to work so much faster than ever before.
Well, a huge thank you for taking the time to sit down with me today. And hopefully we'll see what we can manifest with that breakfast or lunch with Tim Cook too. But just a big thank you for investing your time to share with the listeners today. Thank you.
Anytime.
That brings us to the end of another insightful episode of the Tech Talks Daily podcast. And I'd like to extend a huge thank you to Paul Saccone, Senior Director of Adobe Video Marketing, for taking the time out to join me today and share his valuable insights on the future of video creation, content creation, and Adobe's role in actually democratizing the creative process through AI and innovative technology. And I hope everyone listening found this conversation as enlightening and possibly as inspiring as I did as we explore the latest advancements in trends in content creation and how Adobe are developing these powerful tools to help creatives deliver high-quality content faster than ever before. That's what we're talking about here. That thirst for content is going to increase fivefold over the next 2 years. So as a result, content creators need to create quality content more consistently and faster than ever before. And if you'd like to join this conversation, if you've got anything you would like to add, please email me, techblogwriter@outlook.com, Twitter, LinkedIn, Instagram, @NeilCHughes. We can keep this conversation going. And as always, I appreciate your support, and I encourage you to subscribe, share this episode with friends and colleagues, and help this show in the battle against those AI algorithms. It really does help. But that's it for today. So a big thank you for listening. Big thank you to Paul for joining me on the episode. And until next time, don't be a stranger.